First story. My 24M girlfriend, 25F, cheated on me with another woman in rehab. First of all, some context. Me, 24AM. In my first ever relationship with my girlfriend, 25F, who I've known since middle school, we were never close but had mutual friends and spoke on numerous occasions. We reconnected a little over a year ago over Instagram DMs and have been in a 2-hour long-distance relationship for a little over a year now, seeing each other almost weekly. My girlfriend has been struggling with alcohol addiction, and I've been waiting patiently for her to get help. A month ago, she finally decided that she was ready to help herself and admitted into rehab for a month-long program. I helped her with the process, and to be truthful, after what she did to me, I contemplated why I even waited around for so long. Like I said, she's my first serious relationship. She is pretty, fun to be around, made me feel happy, and an overall charismatic person with what I believe to have a lot of potential. Our fights and ups and downs throughout the year mostly revolved around her drinking habits, but it was nothing I felt that I couldn't handle and couldn't be fixed. Towards the end of her time there, I started feeling neglected. She went from messaging me constantly throughout the days, keeping me updated on her recovery, to suddenly being cold and dismissive. For example, there were multiple times where she would hang up in my face mid-conversation and tell me she would call me back, only to not, and keep me in the dark for hours wondering when I'd hear back. At the time I shrugged it off and didn't press her about it, and I wasn't pushing anything because I didn't want to be selfish due to the fact I knew she was there to work on and better herself. Fast forward towards the end of her residential stay at the rehab facility. She let me know that she decided to continue her treatment and went to a PHP, partial hospitalization program, where they were going to help her adjust to the real world by providing patients with a more hands-off environment. I was all for it, considering the added success rate of the treatment. In this place, she housed with 3 other women. I was aware she was bi and has fucked around with girls in the past, but never thought anything of it at the time, as I believed she was strictly there to aid in her recovery. 5 days pass, and I knew something was up. After countless times where she would hang up when someone walked in, and overall being even more dismissive of me, I finally decided to call her out. I asked her why she kept feeling the need to keep hanging up in my face. I was getting tired of it. Why would she need to? They allow cellular usage, and there was no repercussions for her being on her phone. That was the same night everything went south. Her roommate, we'll call her D, was a 22-YO stud with a criminal record, was a bad influence, and is an overall low IQ trashy human. After I texted and spam called my GF calling her out and not hearing back for hours, I got a call late at night from the staff where she was staying, as I was one of her emergency contacts. They told me she had relapsed. It was D's idea to DoorDash alcohol, as she had been in rehab and PHP multiple times before and knew ways to get away with it. My GF, naive and an addict herself, unfortunately caved. After they drank, they fought over not wanting to order more alcohol. My girlfriend was against it and D was getting aggressive. But right before the police came, my GF started defending herself and fighting back relentlessly, and wouldn't let up, so she was the one who ended up getting arrested and charged with a battery misdemeanor. This is my GF's first time having any legal issues. I was very worried and figured I would reach out to some of her rehab friends that she had told me about in the past to get more information about the arrest, including D. I messaged them saying I was her boyfriend and wanted to figure out what happened at night, and D was the first to give me a call back. She informed me that my GF never mentioned me, and she led D to believe they were in a relationship. My heart sank. Here I was worried sick about what happened to her, and instead I was faced with the true reason why she had been distant with me these past couple of weeks. I felt so disgusted and betrayed as before all of this, she never led me to believe she would be unfaithful and had my full trust. At first I was in denial and asked Dee to send me some type of proof that this had been going on behind my back. She sent me multiple screenshots of their conversations with my GF calling her baby, saying things like I love you, want your lips, I could kiss you for hours and hours, wanna put my tongue all over you, I want you all to myself, I can get lost in your eyes, etc. I wanted to throw up. I was in complete disbelief. I hung up on Dee and immediately began messaging my GF nasty things as she had completely betrayed me. However, she threw her phone in a drunken frenzy and wasn't even able to see the messages I sent her when she got out of jail. I got in contact with her parents and informed them of everything that happened that night, including her cheating on me. They were as shocked as I was. Her parents ended up paying her bond, and after a night of little to no sleep, I decided that I wanted to be the one to pick her up when she got out of jail to get some type of closure before I cut her off from my life. After asking a couple of times, her parents finally gave me the permission to pick her up. I drove 2 hours to the jail and spent a lot of time thinking everything over. I didn't know what to expect or why I was even bothering spending my time, effort and care on someone who would do something like this to me. But I just wanted to talk and hear her side of things. When I saw her for the first time after all of this went down, I instantly told her I knew of everything that happened, including her relationship with Dee. To summarize our conversations about it, she admitted to kissing her, but swears up and down that nothing else happened besides the flirty texts. She has been trying to convince me to forgive her and explains that she didn't truly mean any of the stuff she said. She says things like she was in a very vulnerable mindset, assures me that she loves me and only me, and that I'm the best thing that's happened in her life. That this was the first time she has had a friend group in a long time, enjoyed the attention, and it was all a game to her and was a huge mistake that she regrets deeply. She stated that she had no intentions of continuing anything with Dee after she left the program. It's been a couple of days now, and we have spent a lot of time talking about everything. I want to believe the things she's telling me, but I'm finding it very hard to after everything that's happened. Admittedly, for some reason I can't explain, maybe out of hope that things can work itself out with time, I am here with her now. In fact, I am writing this post along with her next to me. She says she is not ready to go home and face her parents. She says her life in there wasn't real, but everything that was said and done was real to me regardless of her excuses. She says she did heal a lot from her past, learned a lot in her time at rehab, is serious about her sobriety, taking this as a wake-up call, and she is going to change for the best and make me feel proud to be with her even after all of this. I told her that it's almost impossible for me to believe any of the words that she's telling me, but deep down, I want to give her a second chance. Regardless of the texts I saw between her and Dee, I somehow want to believe her words over Dee. She has a no direct-indirect contact order with her, but was willing to call her and to try and prove to me they did nothing else besides a couple of quick kisses, and send insinuating messages back and forth which lead me to believe otherwise because my GF insists that Dee was over-exaggerating the details to me out of pettiness and hurt. Dee told me that they did a lot more than just kiss, and we were planning on calling her and having my girlfriend pretend I wasn't there to see how the interaction goes. And if Dee would own up to lying to me just to make it sound worse on my girlfriend, since she felt hurt as well. However, we've been struggling to get a hold of her. To those who are still here and read through all of this, am I making a mistake? Should I even give her another chance? Should we spend some time apart and give it time to settle before I make a decision? Do I wait and see if she means what she says and actively betters herself by going to therapy, staying sober, and being completely transparent with me moving forward? I don't know. I feel lost, hurt, pathetic, heartbroken, confused and unsure of what my next steps should be. Thanks for reading. Looking forward to the advice. Second story. Cheated on. Hello everyone. The primary reason I am writing today is because I need to feel heard, or at least I don't want to keep all of this to myself. I am a 24-year-old female, and 6 weeks ago I found out I had been cheated on by my 27-year-old ex-boyfriend. We hadn't been dating that long. We met last summer on Hinge. We spent a lot of time together, going on dates, so we made it kind of exclusive last August. However, we entered a real relationship in mid-September. The beginning was very intense and passionate. We were incredibly similar, had the same ambitions, dreams, and values, or so I thought, and our personalities matched. We both had previously been in long-term relationships. I had been in a relationship for 4 years, and he had been in one for 6 years. From my understanding, his ex and he ended on good terms and were still in contact. He told me that nothing had happened for over a year, and that they just continued to be there for one another. I didn't mind, as for me, honesty is paramount, as long as we are being transparent. However, I had my doubts. It started when I found out one of the primary reasons why they had broken up. She was Jewish and he was Muslim, so her family never accepted him. Consequently, they were never able to truly love each other properly. I left it at that because as our relationship evolved, I understood that there was more to it. My doubts grew because of the way he was on his phone. He was very secretive, never left it on the table, had a dark screen to protect it, etc. Once again, I thought it was merely because he enjoyed his privacy. In the past, I would have gone through his phone, but I truly did not want to repeat the toxic behaviors I had engaged in during my previous relationship. He was very controlling regarding my social outings, clothes, and friends. Honestly, I don't know why, but I accepted most of it. The reasoning was that we were from different cultures, and I needed to accept that being with someone religious entailed some sacrifices. The more we advanced in our relationship, the more it bothered me. My mom always told me that the ones who are the strictest and most controlling are the ones who are capable of doing it. I started getting recurring nightmares where he was cheating on me. For context, he had cheated in the past, so I started questioning him. I had seen in November that he was regularly in contact with his ex. He denied it and told me the last time they had seen each other was over the summer, just for coffee, and the last time they had talked was in September. His stories began to fall apart the more I remembered small details. Skip forward to the day I found out. I was supposed to move in with him, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been lied to. I needed to know before starting to settle down. I went on his computer and found screenshots of their conversation. It was him asking for nudes in December. We had been together for 3 months at that point. I confronted him, and he told me it was just messages. He told me that they had actually kept sleeping together until a week before we made it official. I left, as I knew he was still lying to me. I contacted his ex and found out they had actually kept going until mid-November. After that, he continued to message her until January, saying he didn't know how to handle being single and free, how he was supposed to get over her, etc. I called her and found out he had actually lied to her as well. I broke up with him immediately. Unfortunately, my misfortunes didn't stop there. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks later. It made it even more difficult to stop contact with him, as I got an abortion. It is now 2 weeks post-operation and 6 weeks post-breakup. I am struggling to know what I want. He has begged me to wait for him, as he is now in therapy. I also found out about his traumatic childhood. Deep down I still love him and want to forgive him, but I also want to respect myself. I don't know what to do. I am stalking his ex-girlfriend every day, comparing myself to her. I am looking over my conversations with him, trying to understand. I feel stuck in this vicious cycle. What bothers me the most is the fact that he didn't actually end it. He was chasing her for months, also that he was never going to tell me if I hadn't found out. He tells me that he actually didn't love her, and was just using her for sex to not feel lonely. That ultimately he was playing with her to see if she was ever going to leave him. I don't know, it doesn't line up. Ever since we broke up, he's been making a lot of efforts. However, I have no idea who he is now, what he is capable of. I am scared to get hurt again. I am also scared to move on. Any advice or thoughts? Third story. Can't recover from being cheated on. Wife and I have been married for 6 years with children. Prior to marriage, we had been dating for 7 years. Long story short, right before our wedding she admitted that she had been cheating with another guy who's not from my country. This went on for over 3 years during our relationship. She went for trips with him and even met his family. She had kept this hidden from me through toxic gaslighting, even though I was very suspicious. During her confession, she willingly showed me all texts, social media profiles and pictures, told me to run through all her devices and gave me all the access I wanted. I was devastated and betrayed. I couldn't understand why she did this to me. She told me she wanted a clean slate before marriage, and then cried and begged for my forgiveness. This is where the mistake happened. I wanted to call off the wedding, but the thought of all the money spent, invitations that had been rolled out and the embarrassment to my family put me under relative pressure. Her burden became mine to bear, and under so much duress I relented, forgave her and told her she needed to earn my trust. In all fairness, she did change for the better after marriage. She stayed true to her word on giving me full access to all her devices, social media accounts, emails, etc. She became more loving and submissive. She constantly updated me on her whereabouts even when I did not ask. She cut contact with all her male friends and made our marriage and me the center of her universe. She even bore me beautiful children that I loved to death. However, the same can't be said for me. I feel so much anger, bitterness and distress towards her. For the most part of our marriage I've put on an act, pretending to be the loving husband. Deep down, my resentment towards her grows. I get awful flashbacks of the past, like the time when I absconded from my work and nearly got fired just to send her to the airport thinking she was going on a solo trip, when in fact she was taking a flight to see him. Or those times when we were engaged and she was still texting him. I can't get over it. Years later the wound still feels fresh and my rage has become palpable. I've picked fights with her, lashed out and demeaned her. She has to walk around eggshells just to have a decent conversation with me because anything she says could potentially trigger a part of my involuntary memory and would set me off. I've tried to talk to her about this, but each time, it ends in tears and a big fight. I've even went as far as forcing her to describe me in detail, the most intimate moments of her infidelity. I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea. Every time I sought for closure I feel that I'm farther away than I've ever been. My only anchor are the kids. I try to channel my energies towards raising them, but my hatred for my wife never seems to be far away. When people talk about how they met or reminisce the good times they had before they got married, that gets to me. Because now I no longer have that. Whenever people ask how my wife and me met, the question disgusts me. Her infidelity had overlapped with so many of the once happy memories that I treasured. Honestly, I don't know what to do. Divorce? Then let my kids go through the trauma of a broken family? Or take it like a man and suffer in silence, all while the cracks deepen on my mental and emotional stability. I have flashbacks during the day and nightmares when I sleep. Help me, please. Fourth story. IPA wife of 20 years, trying R for 6 months. Opinions please. I would really appreciate your opinions, suggestions or questions to try get this straight in my mind. Apart from IC and MC, I've had no one else feed in their thoughts to my situation. I have been married to my wife for 20 years. About a month ago I, M45, discovered my wife F45 had been having an affair with a family friend for about 4 months. Our relationship hadn't been good for some years, which I am also to blame for. but essentially we were complacent and neglectful of each other, and had become roommates. I found out about the affair because we used to have security cameras installed throughout every room downstairs in our house, which had stopped working several years ago. Unknown to my wife, I got the cameras fixed before Christmas, and a month ago was just checking something and caught her kissing her family friend. She has been texting him to come over each week on a specific day that she knows I'll be out of the house taking our 2 teenage boys to soccer practice in the evening. She hid these weekly meetings from me. In the last month I have done so much investigation, it's insane. I know that day each week is the only time slot she's unaccounted for outside of work or not with other people. And having reviewed all the previous video and audio from previous weeks, mostly sure there's been no sex. The AP clearly fancied my wife, something she encouraged, and they would flirt with each other and inappropriately hug and hold hands. On the day I caught them, they were talking about having sex, groping and kissing. I decided that I wouldn't make a decision on the spot about separating and would at least defer a decision till the end of the year. Since then my wife has done everything suggested in reconciliation. Immediate NC with AP, 100% transparency with her location, access to all electronic devices, going to IC, committing to building a new relationship, self-reflection and research, podcasts, books, etc. I am yet to see whether she can maintain this effort for 6 months, or potentially some of these elements forever, or whether she actually wants to do all of this to create a new relationship, or maybe just doesn't want to lose the kids' house reputation etc. I can't help thinking that we could get to the end of the year, and regardless of all the work we're putting in, won't be able to get past the fact that she would hurt me like this. She has told me that while the affair was happening she didn't think about me or my feelings at all. And then there's the risk she will do the same again at some point and I'll not be able to fully trust her again. I'd appreciate your thoughts, having been here before and seen similar stories. 5th story. She cheated on me while drunk. My GF, 29F, cheated on me last week after a 1-year relationship. She told me right away and we were able to talk about it openly. She said she drank way too much at an office event and got wasted to the point where she wasn't conscious that she was in a relationship. She affirmed that she has no feelings for that guy or anyone else, which I guess would be worse if it was the case, and that it was a mistake that she knows can never happen again. She truly apologized and told me that her solution is to never drink to that point again, or even not drink at all if necessary. I forgave her and I'm dealing with getting the thoughts out of my head and moving on. Her day is coming up, and we have a couple of events planned where I feel like she would most likely be drinking. I don't know if I should clarify her solution and make sure she's clear about not drinking again, or drinking only when I'm around, which I'm not a fan of because I've never been jealous or controlling and I don't want to be that way. Or how to know that she'll measure herself in the future when drinking. Sometimes you take too many shots at once and feel okay and suddenly it hits you, so there could be times where she goes beyond her limit. On another side, her way of dealing with this is to not think about it. This sometimes makes me feel like she's just forgetting about it or is just not showing remorse. She's dealing with depression, so I know there are external issues on her mind, and I try to be understanding. I know that if I need something, I need to ask for it, but I don't know what I need. Overall, I think I can get over it considering that it was a mistake. It was not deliberate, even though I am aware that her decisions led to this outcome. So I truly want to forgive her and trust that it won't happen again. I guess I would just be more upset at myself if it did happen in a year or 10, and especially if we get married. I don't know if I just needed to get this out, or if I need advice about the whole situation or the drinking part. Thanks for reading. And if you're on the sub, you have my deepest condolences. I know this sucks, but there's a whole community here to support with different experiences and different insights. It always gets better. 6th story. My wife has cheated on me. So I guess it's my turn now to share my issues here. My wife 22 and me 23 have been married for 8 months, been together 4 years. I have always been worried we got together way too young, but I loved her and wanted to see it through. We got a house at 19 together and everything seemed fine. I have been very good to her in these past 4 years. I took care of her in 2021 when she was very sick, and made a recovery. We were best friends. This year she has expressed to me that she feels like she may be missing out. She got into those smut books, which led into her falling onto motorcycle TikTok, which I guess they kinda fall together somehow. One night she asked me if she could talk to other fellas on there but not any farther. Me being hurt, I did not feel comfortable with it, but left it be till the next day. The next day I told her I do not want her to do that, as I should be enough for her, and she understood and was fine. She then told me that a guy DM'd her asking for her Instagram. And she told me, and I felt uneasy. But she does have a public book Instagram, so for her benefit and gain. I said he can have that one but not her private one. This is where I started to become uneasy and my intuition was kicking in. I was very concerned that she was talking to other men. I did not go through her phone at this time at all, as I was really trying to trust her. I felt I was lacking a lot here, so I was the best partner I could be for the next following 3 weeks, hanging out with her and doing all sorts of stuff for her to show her I love her. A week after I had that awful gut feeling and asked her if that guy that asked for her Instagram bothered her anymore after that, and she looked at me straight-faced and told me no, not at all. 2 weeks later she breaks down and confesses that she was in fact talking to this guy the whole time, talking dirty and all sorts of things. She even got his number and called him once. So at first I thought we could work through this, but a couple years ago this also almost happened. She was curious about girls and was toting the line of cheating, but not to this extent. Day by day I grow to resent her, but she's trying so hard to keep me and I feel bad for her in a sick sense. And so I tried to send her away for a few days, but she came back that night, when she didn't want to stay there. My head is going crazy. I don't know what to do. I feel like she will do this again, but worse, even though she keeps telling me she won't. Now I'm faced with a dilemma to either keep her or end it here. The things she says, all of it seems like manipulation to try to keep dragging me along because she's comfortable with me and I take care of her. We've had plenty of talks, and I've been harsh but fair and not raising my voice. But it seems all for naught, and she wants to act like this never happened and go about our days again. I'm so invested in her it's hard to leave, so her throwing everything at me as if she never did this and that she loves me is really hard. We have no kids. The only asset we share in this marriage is a house we both own equally. 7th story. My wife cheated on me twice. I don't know why I'm actually writing this, because the matter is actually clear, but I'd still like to know from those affected how they dealt with it. The first time, it was shortly before the wedding with her ex-boyfriend. I know I shouldn't have married her, but I was weak and she was my first really great love. I know from her past that she cheated on several partners. In fact, she cheated on her boyfriend at the time with me, the boyfriend with whom she then cheated on me again. And I only found out from her later that she was actually in a relationship. And I also noticed this red flag, but I believed her that she wouldn't do it with me. Writing it like that makes me feel really stupid. So we got married because I believed her when she promised me that marriage was something sacred to her and that she would never cheat. We also had some good times. However, the emotional abuse started quite early. After a few months, if I'm honest with myself, she was emotionally abusing me even before marriage, threatening to leave me if I didn't do something she wanted. I rebelled against that and she let it go. She kept making jokes about cheating and divorce. Even then I told her clearly that I didn't find it funny and that it hurt me. She never completely stopped doing that. Then she constantly fell in love with other men and whined at home that she had no friends. That's why she wanted to be friends with a certain colleague who she was also in love with. I told her that I didn't want her to be friends with him and that I didn't want her to spend time with him either. She always ridiculed it and said that she only wanted to be friends. She couldn't be friends with other women. She only got on with men. The second time, my wife cheated on me a month ago. This time with the very colleague she had wanted to be friends with for 2 years. We had been trying to start a family for a year. The day she cheated on me, we got the promise of a house. That was 6 days after my father's funeral. I moved out of the flat we shared the same day. That was 3 hours after she told me because she wouldn't let me go, hid my keys and kept throwing my clothes out of my suitcase into the wardrobe. I could hardly drive. I was so upset. I've never cried so bitterly in my life as I did during that drive. I know there's no going back. This is unbearable. She sends me messages saying that she regrets everything and has finally realized that she wants me. This appeals to the little boy in me who had an inaccessible mother and never got the love and closeness from her that he needed. I now spend a lot of time dealing with this part of my personality because it now needs attention from my adult self. I still need to be in contact with her because we still need to sort out a few things regarding separating household contents, insurance, etc. Although I have told her that I only want to talk to her about these issues, she also uses it to try and get back at me again and again. She now wants to go to therapy. All those years she told me she didn't need it. Some days I want to believe her, but my experience with her shows that all these assurances are short-lived. I still feel love for her, and at the same time I hate her because she broke my heart. I hope that I will learn from this and react more to the signs with future partners. How did you do it? Was it easier for you to leave people after such an experience when there were clear red flags? 8th story. Cheated on badly. Me, M22, and a toxic and psychopathic ex, F22. Found out she cheated with 20-plus men across a 3-year relationship. Cars, parks, hotels, restaurants, toilets, clubs. The list goes on. Every guy was going the full way, including finishings and extreme sexual acts. I found out one of my friends was visiting my apartment to sleep with her when I was away too. I am still embarrassed explaining the situation. My confidence had crashed and still is very low. I have major trust issues with any girls and have been tainted to view our generation of women as seriously promiscuous, which I know deep down isn't true whatsoever. When people talk about sex, it gives me a small pit in my stomach. I always feel like I need answers and it's never died down. Fingers crossed it might pass with more time, but it's been a year now. What steps have I got to still take to move past this? I've never cheated in my life and have always been a one-woman guy, so I have never understood the cheating world.